Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Pradeepa Narayanaswamy. She is a TEDx speaker, author, executive coach, and we'll learn from her about insights about leading, building trust, leading with courage, and creating a lasting impact as a leader without sacrificing your well-being. So we'll learn about simplifying the complexity of leadership and reignite your spark to inspire those around you. Welcome to the show, Pradeepa.
Thank you so much, Ajay. I'm so excited to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about leadership. We'll talk about leading with purpose and not just whatever position they are in. So we'll talk about this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your journey, so that, people know who they are listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. Originally from South India, and did my education there, and then got married and moved to the States, and been living here for 25 years now. And I did start as a technologist, and then one thing that I learned about myself is I really loved working with people and collaborating with people, and that's something that I have seen myself really not just doing well, but really enjoying. And that's what, got me into, I didn't go after coaching, but somebody saw that, skill and behavior in me and said like, hey, why don't you consider coaching? So that's when I kind of pivoted towards leadership coaching and working with people. It's been 15 years now, Ajay, and started with teams and then team of teams, larger organizations. And then these days, my purpose and where I wanted to help people is how anybody, irrespective of who they are, what they do, where they work, what position they are in, how can they step up their leadership so that not only they are, shining themselves wherever they are, but they are also able to help people around them to become even better. So that has been my purpose, and I'm one of my mantra that is super aligned with my purpose is continuing to mine for diamonds. I wanted to see the wonderful things about every human being, and I call them diamonds. And when people see what their amazingness is, then if they step into it more, then they can see the diamonds in other people as well. So it's a wonderful ripple effect. Along the journey, I have I have done a TED Talk, and I've speak quite a bit in national and international conferences. And of course, I've written 3 books, and my latest is on leadership, which you mentioned, Practical Leadership, Simplifying the Complexity. And the foreword for that book was written by none other Dr. Marshall Goldsmith.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you talked about, mining for leaders. Even in diamond mining, do we have the right kind of leadership? Why I ask this is put those two things together. Is that what is the problem with leadership? Where is it that where are all the leaders gone? Where is it that we have got designation holders, degree holders, name holders, everything else except for leadership? So what is there? Where are the leaders gone? What is the problem with leadership?
Yeah, they're not gone anywhere. That's how I see it. People are people, and situations, life experiences, what they're going through, they forget sometimes who they are and, where they can ground themselves, or they haven't really stepped into seeing the possibilities of how much they can make an impact, not just for the place that they're working, but for all the people around them. So when I'm talking about mining for diamonds, I'm not just talking about it in a sense that like there are only certain people who has these diamonds in them, and I'm going to uncover them. In my humble opinion, every one of us, every one of the human beings in this world has those diamonds in us. Sometimes we forget that we have them. Sometimes it's buried so deep that we didn't even realize we have it. And sometimes it's covered in dirt. I'm just using the diamond analogy here. Sometimes it's covered in dirt that we don't even see it clearly, or we only think of it as a dirt and not as a diamond. So respectfully, every one of us is a leader in itself. How often do we remember that? How often do we realize that? And have we thought about, hey, if I'm being a leader, how do I want it to show up for other people in this situation? Being really conscious and intentional about it.
Right. What about business leadership, corporate leadership? Because that is when we talk of leaders.
Yeah.
Generally, in this sort of a situation, we talk about business leaders. If we are talking about political leaders, we'll talk about political leaders. But then people don't talk about leaders; they just call them by names, not good names, bad names, also whatever it is. But when they talk of business leadership, there is a crisis of leadership. And not very long ago, we had this great resignation, quiet quitting, still very much on, and industry is worrying about, all this, especially in the backdrop of layoffs, AI coming in very strongly, layoffs going on also very strongly. So where is it that we see this hope, Pradeepa? Because, on paper, everything looks good. Leaders look so great on papers, great degrees from different diplomas from different management institutes. But when you
Yeah.
come to crisis situation, then the leaders call that, listen, we are all in this together. But when comes is to take the best pay, then it is only I deserve it because I am very good. How can this work? That in problem we are all together, but when it comes to all the good things, all the brownie points, then I am the leader. Means it is a lot of hypocrisy, and that we have to admit. What is your take on this?
I love that. Love that question. I when I talk about leadership, leadership for me is beyond whether it's business, whether it's in your society, in your community, whether you are running a team, organization. It doesn't matter. Am I able to influence somebody in a positive manner? And am I being really comfortable in my own skin? And can I really own my decisions? Right? Whatever I'm making, I'm owning my decisions, and I'm showing up as, what I'm going to call it authentically, right? Like, am I able to lead authentically, meaning really comfortable in my own skin and grounded in my values, right? Like, what are my own values, and am I really grounded in that? So that's how I see leadership as. And to answer your question, where is that leadership being gone, right? Like, why are people sounding different in different situations? Personally, I would be really curious about how people worry about judgment, right? Oftentimes, as humans, as leaders, we put so much emphasis on how people see us, what people will think about us, how people will react or act to us based on our actions, our reactions. And you said, right, like, it may look great on papers, you have all these fancy certifications and degrees from different colleges and elite universities and things like that, and people are very proud to show, because people want to know, like, hey, look at me, I've done this, and this and that, right? But on the contrary, when people are critiquing some of the choices certain people make, certain leaders make, we are afraid of those judgment. So one of the things in my work I help leaders with is, how can you let go of worrying too much about what other people think, and can we really ground ourselves into our values and our morals, right? Not whatever somebody else is asking us to do. Is that really aligning with me? And will I be able to speak the truth? And if this is my truth, can I really own it? Some people may like it, some people may hate it, some people just don't care. It doesn't matter. But can I still ground myself in the truth and not really worried about what other people think, right? And if there are critiques, am I open to listen to what they are and not to defend or justify, but to see, hey, what is something that's being shared that other people are experiencing about me? What can I learn from that? And even it feels really hard, is there something that I can value from what's being said? Not because somebody is telling me, but there is something that I can do to, grow myself even better, right? To be a better leader, to be a better human. And that is something people often forget. When you talk about organizations behaving differently, leaders behaving differently, when things are going well, everything is awesome. But when things are not going well, that's the true test of leadership, in my humble opinion. Because when things are going well, everybody is going to love you, everybody is going to praise you, right? And we'll be in the ninth cloud. But when things are not going well, how do we show up? That's the differentiating factor. And that's where leaders need to evolve themselves. A leader needs to grow themselves. And what is my guiding light, right? And am I really comfortable when nobody is in the room and there is that little voice speaking to me? Am I really comfortable with what is that saying to me? And that's where we have to get to. And when every leader gets to that point, hey, it's not about leading when things are great. It's about showing leadership when things are not great. That is the true test of leadership, Ajay. And that's where we can see where people can, this is not a label, these are good leaders and these are bad leaders. Everybody is a leader, but there is opportunities for every one of us to step up our leadership. And hard times is really a great reflection of mirror. We may not like what we see, it may not look pretty like good times, but are we willing to look into the mirror? Are we willing to challenge ourselves and see how I can step up my leadership right now?
Absolutely, absolutely, Pradeepa. Let's understand it this way. You are an executive coach. What are the issues? What are some of the things that all these people come to you for? How do you help them? Let's understand from the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that is really common that I have seen coaching leaders, executive leaders, and otherwise is oftentimes leaders think that they have to have all the answers and they have to solve every problem. And that's not always the case. You don't have to have all the answers. You can definitely rely on your team to help you, and you create a trusted environment where your team members are there to support you and help you, and you can delegate some of those responsibilities. And the other thing is, as you grow up and up in an organization, it is in fact becomes very lonely at the top, and it's really, really true. And lot of people, because there is the positional authority there, I call this watermelon effect. Red on the inside, green on the outside. People are afraid of or don't want to be honest and tell things candidly. And if things are not going well, the first person should know is the top leader, so that one, they are aware of it, and two, if there is anything that they need to do to communicate or manage, they can do that. But they may not be the first ones to hear, and in fact they probably are the last people to hear, because a lot of people look at the designation, look at the title and say, like, I don't know if I can go and say this candidly. So one of the bigger struggles, and this is also a leadership opportunity for executive leaders, how many people are not just coming to me with all the amazing things that are happening in their organization, how many people are coming to me with real problems that they are not able to solve for themselves, and they are bringing me in and telling me what's going on. That is also a measure of great leadership. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to share with you, Ajay.
Absolutely. So let's look at the solutions. You talk about authenticity, leading authentically. Then you talk about practical leadership, simplifying the complex. That's the name of your book. So is practical leadership and authentic leadership the same thing, or are these two different things?
It's absolutely the same thing, right? Leadership, the book itself is offering practical advices and easy to use, insights that anybody, irrespective of where they are in their career journey, can read it and implement it. And my strong belief in leadership is not a doing act. It's not like I'm doing a bunch of things that makes me a great leader. I'm going to get results because of what I'm doing. For me, leadership starts as a being. Who I am, as a human. Where am I coming from? What is my North Star? What are my grounding values and principles? And based on that, I am going to make actions, right? Like my actions are going to follow who I am being. And those actions will have outcomes associated with that. So oftentimes, many people come to me and say, like, Pradeepa, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I have a difficult conversation? How do I give feedback, right? Like it's all how, meaning tell me what to do and I will do it, right? Like the doing is where most leaders start. But my teaching and my coaching starts with a step before that. You have to know who you are being, and that being is what is going to guide what you are going to do. If I'm being a powerful leader who is not afraid to have a difficult conversation, then depending upon who I am talking to, I'm not going to dilly-dally around giving somebody a candid feedback. Of course, I'm also a very kind and a compassionate human, and I treat everybody with respect. That's who I am being. So even when I'm giving a difficult conversation, I'm going to be a kind and compassionate human being and giving a hard feedback that the other person would really benefit from, right? So the being will drive who I am, what I'm doing, and what I am doing will drive the results.
Absolutely, Pradeep. And talking of, let's look at it from the leader's perspective. Some leaders do think that, if you show too much of generosity, niceness, kindness, transparency, then the employees will, some of them will think that as a weakness, either would consider you as a weak leader or would try to exploit that so-called weakness for their benefits. So does a leader have to see all the time that if the employees are actually that much advanced to, in that sense, to deserve that sort of transparency, or just, they expect a strong leader, and strong leader is a strong leader without showing too much of emotions.
Yeah.
Are leaders, is this one of the challenges today?
I love that question. You can be both, right? I consider myself a really strong leader, right? And my leadership depends. I have my grounding morals and principles. Even when I have to have a very difficult conversation with an employee, right? When I was, leading organizations, I can still come from the place of professional, being very kind and compassionate, and still I don't have to pick and choose between being a kind leader and having to, put on a very, like a strict face, and, I have to be this person. I can still be both, and I can still deliver a very, very strong message. And that's where people have to know It's not either one, and I can still be that person and be the kind of leadership that is required for that moment, right? People often think that there is only one way of leadership. No. People ask me, like, Pradeepa, what kind of leader I should be, right? Like, what are the things that I need to be for a leader? I would say it depends, like a consultant, right? It depends upon the situation. It depends upon the people you are talking to. It depends upon, what kind of things are unfolding in front of you. You have to be willing to change your leadership. Sometimes, being lenient, and sometimes you have to be strict and, offer certain perspectives. Sometimes you have to get on the baton and take a decision and make a decision. Not everybody in your organization is going to like it, but you have a responsibility, and that's what is going to move you and the organization and the teams forward. So and all of this, and the underlying aspect, Ajay, is I really don't worry about, and I don't, give a lot of emphasis about what other people think about me or how they judge me, right? People are going to judge you no matter what, right? As humans, people judge other people. That's very common. But as long as I am, being truthful to, and I'm, grounding myself, and, I'm being okay making decisions that are, to the best of my knowledge, is going to help us move forward, I'm okay making the decision. Of course, I'll get feedback, but I'm not going to give in on, oh my God, what would this person think of me? What would they think of me? How would the audience react? How would my stakeholders react? If I'm giving in on all of that, then that's when I kind of lose my core and not be able to be myself. That's being myself amidst of whatever is happening around me. That's authenticity. Being really comfortable in myself, in my own skin, being able to talk from my truth, and really owning my actions and reactions, no matter whomever is on the other side.
Absolutely, absolutely. So practical leadership, simplifying the complexity. This is your third book, Pradeepa. Who is this book for?
This book is for any leader who really wants to take their leadership to that next level. It can be an executive wanting to fine tune their leadership, or it is also somebody who is, hey, I really wanted to go into, people management and, team management. Or it is also for an individual. They may not be vying for, business leadership roles, but somebody who can really benefit from fine tuning how they are showing up in their work situation and in their life situation. So it depends on where you are, but any person who's reading this book is going to, that's my guarantee, is going to get something, an aha moment, an insight that they can directly apply it in their current life, no matter where they are in their career and life.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so much to learn about leadership from you, Pradeepa, and I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of leaders would like to connect with you, take your coaching, read your books, get the best from you. What's the best way for them to do so?
The best way for them to do so is connecting with me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. I write a lot. I share quite a bit of my own journey, my learnings, where I am struggling as a mom, as a leader, like what I have learned. And I share a lot. So LinkedIn would be a great place for people to start. I also wanted to put out my website too. It's very simple, Pradeepa, my first name, .coach. People can find me there, and they can, connect from there as well. So those are two places I would recommend, Ajay.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much, Ajay. Really appreciate the opportunity today.